Potential Experts is brought to you by Vermonti's. Craving something cheesy, crispy, and unforgettably delicious? Say hello to Vermonti's Pizza, where every slice is a love letter to the Green Mountain State. From classic pepperoni to our legendary mac and cheese pizza, we're serving up bold flavors you won't find anywhere else. Order online and get 20% off your first order with promo code Vermonti20. That's VERMONTY20. Hit us up on Instagram at Vermonti's_Vermont Eats to see what's hot and fresh right now. Vermonti's Pizza, homegrown, handmade, and hella good. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Potential Experts. Today is Wednesday, April 29th. Yes, we're recording on Wednesday evening instead. The Bruins played last night, staved off elimination in their series. They are sending it back to Boston for a game 6. So Brandon was occupied. Big Knicks took a 3-2 lead over the Hawks in a 29-point whopping. You know we're going to talk about that. Jalen Brunson is back. Cat is doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
To top off the night, the little cherry on top, we got the Philadelphia 76ers extending their series, making Boston go back down the Jersey Turnpike, head to Philly. They are not yet on to the Eastern Conference semifinal. They need to go into Philly and win a game 6 in order to avoid that game 7 stress. Before we get to that, we're going to talk NBA playoffs. We're going to talk NHL playoffs. We're going to even do a little bit of a draft recap. I got to own up. It's on me. I got to apologize because it's not lost on me that a week ago, when we recorded last Tuesday, so 8 days ago, I had a conflict, and it's totally my fault. I didn't realize I had a conflict till the morning of. And I know some people might be listening. Oh, of course, Bags. Yep, you have a conflict the day after the Knicks blow a 15-point lead at home in game 2 against the Hawks. Yep, Brandon's doing the air quotes right now for those that are listening on the radio in their car, which I'm sure is 99.9% of you.
The radio.
Conflict.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Oh,
And
man.
now, of course, here I am, happy. Maybe not happy as can be. I'd be happier if the Knicks handled their business in 5. But Knicks have now won 2 straight games, beat Atlanta on the road, game 4, beat them by 16. It was honestly wasn't even as close as 16. It got up to about 20 at one point. And then, like I've previously referenced, a 29-point whopping at Madison Square Garden last night. So, of course, now I'm on the show, feeling myself. I'm all happy now. A week ago, I was nowhere to be found. So I'll take that on the chest. Believe what you want to believe. I assure you I had a conflict, but I'm back and I'm ready to talk some hoop. Ben, what's good?
Don't feel too bad, Ben. I'm sure you listened, but I think I was able to adequately voice both my displeasure and yours as well, because they got chewed out. I had to go like teacher mode on the Knicks last week. I was not happy with them. Wasn't happy with the effort, but they're pulling me back in. You guys know. Well, I guess it's a Godfather thing, but if you see The Sopranos, they rip it all the time. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. That's where we're at right now. It's beautiful.
I absolutely listened, Ben. I'm not gonna lie. Like on a serious note, it was a pleasure to. I listened to the entire show. It was a pleasure to listen to the show as a fan because I'm not gonna lie. I knew the general outline because obviously I'm in the group chat. I knew that you guys were going to talk overreaction, some draft gems, some draft busts. So I knew generally what you were going to talk about. It wasn't like a complete surprise, but I didn't know any particulars. I didn't know what your overreactions were going to be or who your draft gems or who your draft busts were going to be. So it was really, really fun listening as a fan for the first time ever, honestly. You guys did an exceptional job, and Ben, I agree. You very I think I texted you this, but you very eloquently summed up the feelings of many, many New Yorkers. And I want to come to your defense, Ben, because Brandon and Ethan seem to not buy this. You are 100% the biggest Knicks fan in Guatemala. It's not particularly close.
Yes. Okay. Good. I'm glad you're back with me on that. And it's a good day to be a Knicks fan. You know, when you come into work after a loss and you have like 10 different 14-year-olds hitting you with like the Miss McPherson, what happened last night? What did you see the game? I just him. I don't know. I don't know what game you're talking about. Only thing that happened last night was I just decided you're all getting a quiz today. You know, it's going to be me not teaching you guys, just doing work. So that's how I roll with it. But yeah, it's a good time in basketball. I mean, this has been a great round one. Best in like recent memory. We only have one series over so far. All these games look like they'll be going at least. All these series look like they'll be going at least 6 games. I did want to bounce around and talk about a few different things. Maybe save the Knicks for last. And I thought a good way to do that was my boy Yannick. He was on the pod a few weeks ago. I had him send me over three thoughts about the NBA playoffs that I'd love to hear your opinions on, Ben, because this guy always texts me in his Dutch English. I'll, be on my couch and I just get a text from him. Bums the Hawks are. Rudy got Jokic on lock and injury. Look bad, though. His season might be over if he tore something in his knee. Detroit are done, though. They play terrible. Listen, AO went effing crazy tonight. I didn't even know who that guy was up until now. So he lets it fly. So I was like, Yannick, let's give me some concise thoughts to hit Ben with. So I'm gonna hit you with the first one if that's cool.
Please do.
All right. First thought from Yannick. Detroit Pistons, biggest frauds of the NBA. How are we feeling about that right now?
I don't know how you can say otherwise at this particular point. And credit to Ethan, he sniffed that out back in like February, right around the All-Star break. He started down that path. It was really challenging, I'm sure, for you and I, especially me, as Knicks fans, because the Pistons, credit where credit's due, they gave us belt. Not once, not twice, three times. It was a 30-plus point defeat twice. One of those times we didn't have our main guys, but still a 30-plus point defeat twice, followed by not like a 30-plus point win, but like 10 to 15-point handling of us when they actually were missing Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart as they were both suspended for the melee against the Hornets. But honestly, I mean, I'm watching it, and granted they're up by 3 right now, but it's such a terrible matchup for them. And Detroit is recognizing that they just simply took the regular season so much more seriously than every other team. And that in and of themselves in and of itself, was able to get them 60 wins. The playoff intensity, I mean, Tobias Harris is shooting 14% from 3. We talked about it all year long, and I talked about it in my playoff preview a little bit, although I did think the Pistons were going to dispose of the Magic rather easily. I was wrong on that. But I did say as the Pistons progress in the playoffs, what's going to become more and more important is that lack of a secondary creator. And it didn't wait one dang series for them to discover that. That is just rearing its ugly head, and they find themselves in a 3-1 hole for a reason.
Yeah, and I think a big reason why they didn't go out and get that secondary creator is they were so high on Duren this year, and he had a great regular season, but his playoff high so far in this first series, the most points he scored in the game, do you know off the top of your head?
I believe it's
I'll take
12.
a guess. It is 12 points. Like, for that to be your number 2 guy, I'm sorry, I've been watching these other series. I'll tell you some centers who've been playing better than Jalen Duren. Onyeka Okongwu, Mias Keita. Obviously, your stars like Jokic, Wemby, and Cat. Dude, Wendell Carter has been the best big man in that series. Brutal month for Jalen Duren. Imagine you're dating a beautiful woman. She's way more famous than you, Ben. She's way more famous than you. She's got her clout. She seems pretty cool. And she breaks up with you. And then she starts dating another guy. And then it turns out you are not only playing that guy in an NBA playoff series, but he is your one-on-one matchup. This being Jalen Duren, whose ex-girlfriend Angel Reese is now dating Wendell Carter. You not only have Wendell Carter destroy you 4 games in a row, but Angel Reese then goes ahead and posts a picture of Wendell Carter dunking on Jalen Duren on her Instagram. Fantastic stuff. Great content. I mean, NBA, name a better soap opera. You can't find one. Rough go for Jalen Duren. Great stuff for Wendell Carter. The Magic, they didn't even score well last game. They had like 94 points or something. Pretty ugly end to it. I think like their only field goal, like in that final stretch, was a Desmond Bain bank 3.
Yeah.
But
Well,
they're a matchup nightmare for. Go ahead.
yeah, just because on that. So I heard a stat. There were only 2 field goals in that final 4.5 minutes. It was the Bain banked 3, as you referenced, and then the second field goal was just like an Isaiah Stewart dunk when the game was over with just a few seconds left. So for 4.5 minutes in crunch time, where again it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be like your highest level of execution in theory, you put your best foot forward. There were no field goals that went in either A, when people were trying, or B, the way they were intended to go in. Because I don't think Desmond Bain called
Yeah.
A. I mean, obviously it
No,
counts,
he did not.
but you know what I'm saying. So go ahead.
Yeah, and it's been an awful series for Cade Cunningham too. These guys have so many bodies to throw at him and they're clogging the paint. But, a lot of the times like he gets that kind of like benefit of the doubt where he's like he's doing this with no spacing. I'll tell you, 8 turnovers a few of them unforced, just kind of lazy offense on his part. That's ugly. I knew someone who texted me a few months ago saying that Ben, Gabe Cunningham, we got to admit, he's better than Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson had 39 and 8 last night, and I'm not talking turnovers. So I think we know the deal. Everybody's better than that guy until it's time to be better than that guy. We can talk about CJ McCollum's last game when we get to that series. But
Jeremy
let's
Sohan
go for
outplayed him.
Detroit. Oh, Sohan was a dog. Garbage time Giannis, they say. But we'll see how it goes this summer for Detroit. They're going to probably make some moves. So one thing, my buddy here is a Pistons fan. He's like, I don't think this is realistically going to happen, but like in the like he's not a big Twitter guy, but he's a Reddit guy. So like Pistons Reddit, apparently Devin Booker's from Michigan. So that's something that they've got on their mind. I think he'd be a nice fit there, but we got plenty of time to discuss trade and free agency rumor slop in the summer.
Yeah.
Want to hear Yannick thought number 2?
I'd love to.
I said, I'm going to get your thoughts. He texted me, new text. Honestly, new text. If I look at the East right now, new text. No clue who will win the East. New text. All show weaknesses. Another new text. OKC, easy champions if no one steps up their game. How are you feeling about OKC versus the field right now?
I'm going to take the field simply for two main reasons, and unfortunately, neither of those reasons are Knicks. And it's not even necessarily because it's not that like I don't think the Knicks can win a championship. I just don't think the Knicks could beat OKC if they get there.
This is a question about the Thunder. He just starts talking about the Knicks, Brandon. What's going on?
It's almost like a one-track mind. Like, we can't go through episodes. Maybe that's a challenge that we'll take on. I won't do it during the NBA season. Maybe once we get to the offseason, can we get through one episode of this show without the Knicks coming up? Just one. I don't think it's possible. I don't know. We'll see.
You guys done?
We'll see.
You guys done? You guys done?
No. I'm enjoying myself. This is good. But no, continue on.
So, to connect to what I was saying, I'm taking the field for two reasons. And like I said, not the Knicks. It's the Spurs who appear to have the Thunder's number again throughout the regular season. So, we just talked about the Pistons. Last thing we can do right now is overrate the regular season. But I mean, the Spurs beat them 4 out of 5 games. So that simply cannot be ignored. And, we have to give the Spurs credit on that. And that, not only the Spurs, but also if the Celtics are to represent the East. I was texting with Ethan the other day, and he even said that if it were to be if the Celtics were to go to the NBA Finals, assuming that it's either the Spurs or the Thunder that represents the West, he would actually prefer the Thunder of the two. He believes the matchups are better. He believes that, and he's right in saying this, they really don't have anybody that can even contain Wemby the way that other teams might have an ability to do. So he would actually prefer them.
What other teams, Ben? What other teams could contain Wemby in the finals?
I don't know. We can talk about that later. I mean, we got 2 of them. Anyways, because apparently I'm not allowed to reference the Knicks even when it's relevant to my explanation. But as a result, I got 2 teams, one in their conference, one that could be the Eastern Conference representative for the champion. If, you hold the gun in my head, OKC or the field, I got to take the field right now. I don't feel comfortable, going. At the end of this round, there's going to be 8 teams remaining. I'm not going to put too much stock into one over all remaining 7 when all remaining 7, not all 7 are solid, but I'd say probably like 5 of them are very, very good and could make a run.
Yeah, I guess for OKC, it's looking like their path is going to be pretty straightforward. I know Reeves officially back tonight now.
I saw he was questionable with the oblique. I have not looked into that recently.
But regardless, I mean, if the Lakers get through that series, they get Reeves back, but it doesn't look like Luka is going to be back at all. So that should be a pretty easy round 2 matchup for them. Same thing if they get Houston and Houston pulls off a little 3-0 comeback. So it doesn't seem like they're going to be getting challenged until the conference finals, which if you're doing the whole like math numbers field thing, that means you're just kind of counting on OKC to win 2 hard series as opposed to other teams like Denver, they got to deal with Minnesota, and then they'd have to deal with San Antonio, and then they'd have to deal with OKC, and then they'd have to deal with the Eastern Conference champion. So OKC's path definitely leans in their favor. It's just for me, I got that text from Yannick, and I'm like, that's fair, but I don't think you can have that thought now if you didn't have that thought heading into the playoffs. Like I don't think watching OKC beat up on Phoenix has changed my opinion of them. My opinion is high, but it was high beforehand. This series or that series didn't really change anything for me.
Is any part of you looking at the J-Dub injury and are like, that hammy's gonna continue to linger? I mean, it's lingered all year long. It's like his third straight hammy strain this year. Like, is there any part of you that's like, listen, you need a J-Dub, like fully healthy, fully engaged in order to beat a San Antonio or in order to beat a Boston or a New York, like, or a Denver, if Denver is to find their way out of this Minnesota series and somehow beat San Antonio? Or are you just like, nah, like, and that's how good they are. They don't need a guy who was, I believe, second team All NBA last year.
I mean, I think we saw again, hard to translate regular season to playoffs, but they're still very dominant without him. And if he's playing and he's banged up, like it is the playoffs. It's very rare you have a team with no one who's banged up. Obviously, that's a tough guy to have it be. But I would still not be shocked by any means if OKC. I'm sorry, Desmond Bane's getting a little chippy right now. I would not be shocked if OKC made it through and won the finals without him by any means. And then my last Yannick thought. This one was also three texts. So I'll just read it as one. He told me, and keep in mind, he's a Lakers fan, that he wouldn't be surprised if Houston came back and won it in 7 games. The Lakers played above their weight in the first 3 games, and it's not sustainable for them.
I don't agree with that. I do agree that they played above their weight. I think Houston is. It's funny how like narratives change and shift so drastically, but I look at Houston almost as like the Magic of the West, where it's just like the way I looked at the Magic going into this playoff series, where it's like they're so uninspiring. Obviously, they're kind of proving me wrong right now, so maybe that's not the best comp today, but Houston's just abysmal offensively. Their entire offense is Kevin Durant. Ethan talked about it on the pod last weekend, and I really agreed with his analysis where he's like, Şengün's a fine player, but he's really a third on a championship contender. And without Kevin Durant, he's being asked to be their one. I also saw this insane stat that was basically, you go ahead, Ben. Go ahead.
Sorry, little off track. If you're building a franchise, Şengün or Duran,
Şengün, he's
pick
more
one.
modern big. He's more modern big.
Yeah, fair enough. Continue. Sorry.
I saw this insane stat, and I'm not going to directly quote it because I don't recall the specific numbers, but it would like showed Amen Thompson's like on-off splits, and it was basically showed this is prior to game 4, and he's played like he's averaged like nearly 40 minutes per game in this series, and they have won his minutes. Did he get snipped?
Yeah, not me or Brandon. He's talking about my cat. He got a little surgery this past weekend. He's got the cone on. He just came on the screen.
Oh wow.
But yeah, he's a little down bad right now.
That's sorry for going off track. Yeah, I know it's probably a wild thing to hear for people that are not watching again, which is probably 99% of listeners.
We are on YouTube too. You can watch the show on YouTube if you so choose. Just throwing it out there.
And you can see Brandon's lovely new haircut. You look really good. You
Appreciate
like
it.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
Hey, you look
anyways,
younger.
I'll
You
get
look
to my
youthful.
point. I'll get to my point on my Amen Thompson stat, which was just like he's been averaging like 40 minutes per game this series, and they've outscored the Lakers by like almost 20 points across his minutes, not per game, but just 20 points in general. So that means like the times that he's losing, they're like in only like 24 minutes of game time, they're being outscored by like 27 points in that time. That's a ballpark stat, but it's like they're winning Amen Thompson's overwhelming minutes, and then when he's off the floor, they're just getting absolutely cooked. So, I mean, I knew he was a good player, but you didn't realize that his on-off splits were that dramatic until it's like put in that kind of way to you.
Yeah, it is pretty nutty. But yeah, I mean that's what Yannick had for me. I thought those were 3 interesting thoughts. Maybe he'll have some. Maybe we'll get him on. He's got a busy schedule. He's got the babies.
Yeah.
They have swimming lessons today. I said, Yannick, I thought you already knew how to swim. He said, no, it's for my kid. But yeah, other series going on in the NBA world before we get to the lovely freezing cold land of hockey and my birds on their way to their cups. I had a great time watching the Knicks win last night. Safe to say, I found about 90% of that joy watching Boston lose as well. That was pretty awesome.
That was so much fun. I had an extra pep in my step today, and I was even thinking about because like I sometimes I like look at my week ahead. It's like, where's the potential for joy? The thought of being able to walk to like take my drive into work, because I've said it before, I have about an hour drive into work. Take my drive into work, get a coffee from Dunkin', And if the Knicks take care of business tomorrow and advance to the second round, and that coincides with Philly forcing a game 7, you're telling me I get a medium iced coffee, oat milk, 2 Splenda. Thanks for putting me on, Ben.
Oh, that's classic.
I still keep the same one from our drives in at MVU when we'd be like 15 minutes late and we'd be like, yeah, let's go grab a coffee. And Jen Disorder would give us the stink eye as we'd walk in and be like, hey, how you doing? I can't believe that was a job. Anyways, so walking in, just like driving into work with that coffee, a pardon my take queued up, a little KFS, hear Macri's thoughts on advancing to the second round, and then hear the little Hank's thoughts on the Celtics being forced to go back to Boston for a game 7. It could go so horribly. Like, we could lose to Atlanta. Honestly, that's way more likely. Now, I'm not saying it's likely that Atlanta beats us, but of the 2 possibilities, us beating Atlanta coinciding with a Boston loss, or Boston beating Philly coinciding with us losing to Atlanta, the latter is way more likely. But just like the thought that that could happen is, oh God, it's making me so happy. And just like sitting back on a Saturday, watching that game, rooting for Philly, just being like, yeah, nothing stress free on our end. We're good. I want it so bad.
This guy's salivating over here. I mean, you say it's more likely that Knicks Hawks go 7.
It
Dude,
is.
is there anyone on Atlanta that scares you as much as you'd be scared dealing with a kind of locked in cooking Joel Embiid like we saw last night? Because, dude, that was a real forgot about Drake performance out of him. Just getting to the line, little mid range turnarounds, that pull up at the free throw line. When you're not rooting against him, you can find a little bit of joy in watching him play basketball. And I was able to find that yesterday. He's the classic if he's healthy guy, and right now he is. That could change on, snap of the fingers, but dude, he looks dominant. It's a terrible matchup for Boston. I mean, my friend Eamon was having a little rage moment last night, texting me and Henry and whatnot, and I was like, dude, imagine you're trying to advance in the playoffs and you got to watch Nikola Vucevic and Luke Garza try to guard Joel Embiid. I'd be a little stressed myself, so I couldn't really blame him. But Boston, they do this thing where it's just like, I mean, modern NBA, you can often tell who's going to win a game by just looking at the 3-point shooting numbers. But with Boston, it is almost a 99% accuracy, like, guarantee. If you look at a box score and Boston has shot under 30% from 3, they're not winning the game. They're really weird. They were sub 30.
They were, okay.
Only on 39 attempts, which for them is quite low.
Yeah. Like genuinely.
They're normally above 50.
Yeah.
And yes, they have these weird. I mean, we saw it in the playoffs last year where they were up at home 20 points in 2 games. And instead of playing like regular basketball and just keeping, adding to it with layups and cuts and dunks and some post ups, mid range, they keep firing away. Live by the 3, die by the 3. You're living by Missoula, you're dying by Missoula. Like, he's not changing it up. He's a great coach, but he's not a big, like, in-game adjustment guy like that. They're going to play their system. And, I mean, it got him a championship one year, but it's pretty high variance. So I would not be shocked. I mean, if they have another bad shooting game in Philly and Embiid's out there, Maxi's doing his thing. Paul George was so good defensively. Jaylen Brown was in shambles. That's the Jaylen Brown I know and love, what I saw yesterday. Dude's just tunnel vision. Only thing he can do is just kind of do a little Derrick Henry. Like, he's not, got much to him. He don't got that bag. So it's a joy to see.
Yeah, well, I got a few quotes. So, a guy that we actually haven't had on the show, but we should get on, Ethan's buddy, and he's become my friend over the course of the years, Sahil, big Celtic fan, but even more than anything, really, he's a big appreciate the game kind of guy, knows ball really, really well. Got a few quotes from Sahil in reference to the Celtics. So he's hitting the panic button, which is surprising to me because Sahil is usually pretty level-headed. I know, you guys don't really know him. Brandon, you might have met him once or twice. Ben, you never have.
He's Ethan's friend, right?
Yes, he is indeed Ethan's friend.
Yeah.
So, this is a text between Ethan and Sahil. Sahil goes, they're pathetic. Tatum and Brown play so stupid, but I'm not even sure it's their fault with the way the offense is run. That was last night. Unprovoked this morning at 11:07 a.m., he texts Ethan again. Missoula ball honestly sucks. Ethan replied, bro, they won a championship with Missoula ball. And the guy said, it has failed them anytime they went up against a real defense, meaning the Heat series in 23 and the Knicks series last year. And now they look bad against a pretty awful Sixers team. I don't know. I think that's a little bit of an overreaction, saying, Missoula ball sucks. But Ben, I mean, I think you said it best, Ben, where it's a high variance style of play. It's resulted in 2 games this series, which have been 30-point blowouts, that being game 1 in Boston and game 4 in Philadelphia. It has also resulted in 3, not just 2, 3 lackluster performances that Boston was fortunate enough to find a way to win one of those 3 games so that they find themselves up 3-2 as opposed to not down 3. Of course, I'm referencing game 3 in Philly, in which Boston won by, I believe, 8, which was not the most aesthetic game to watch. But again, if you're a good team, you find ways to win, even when it's not going your way. And that's what Boston did that night.
This guy, you have any thoughts on Derek White so far these playoffs? Because I'd be a little frustrated if I was him.
There's no specific thoughts on Derek White. I know I was listening to Pardon My Take today, and Hank, I don't like Hank at all. I don't think he knows ball very well, and I think he's just a showboater. But what I will say is I agreed with this take where he's like, yeah, I think White is kind of at the stage where it's going to come out 3-4 weeks after the playoffs end for them, whenever that might be, hopefully sooner rather than later, that White was dealing with XYZ injury, the way last year came out. Oh, Jaylen Brown had the torn meniscus, this and that. I actually do kind of buy that about Derek White because, dude, he's like 7 for 33 from 3 in this series. It's not the Derek White that Celtics fans know. It's not the Derek White that any NBA fan who's been following ball the last few years since he's really come into his own on this Missoula ball style. It's not the Derek White that any of us know. As a fan of a team that I guess I'll just say is likely to match up with them in the next round, I'm pleased about that. But if you're a Celtic fan, you must be ripping your hair out because you don't understand what happened to this guy that's been a knockdown 3-point shooter for the last 3 seasons.
Brandon, are we going to pile on Ben today? You trying to
No,
rip this?
no, I think we'll be nice today.
What's
Okay.
good?
That was kind of boring, but as this guy said, he was glad that Derek White's injured.
You're trying to go that route with it? Absolutely not.
And that's you said he's probably injured, and then you said I'm pleased.
I'll specify. I'm pleased he's
You
not through the
okay?
wall well. Ben, do you have any other? I mean, we pretty much hit on a lot. We already talked about the OKC series through Yannick's thoughts. We talked about Lakers Rockets. We got to talk. You know what? Pour one out for my boy Devo. I feel terrible, man. I was watching that game live Saturday night with Larry. We were just hanging out, and he didn't see it, and he looked at me. He's like, "What's up?" I was like, "Dude, Devo just absolutely blew out the Achilles." He's like, "No, for real." I'm like, "Yeah, it's 100%
Yeah,
the Achilles. You knew it right away. It wasn't one of those. Let's wait for the imaging to come back. We don't know. No, it was the reverse back step where you put all your weight, literally all of your weight shifts onto whatever foot you put back, or excuse me, whatever the leg you put back, and it just popped right.
uh,
It was terrible. I felt awful for him. I honestly thought Ant's was more gruesome. Obviously, Ant ended up being the lighter of the 2 injuries. But dude, I didn't know your knee's not supposed to bend that way if you're Anthony Edwards.
the Devo one did it for me. Brandon, I don't know if you knew this. I mean, Ben, you know this. I'm not good with like that type of stuff. Like I pass out when I get my blood drawn. I had a seizure this summer when I got my blood drawn. I saw that, I was getting a little dizzy. That was gross, man. Like it was like you said, pretty gruesome. Obviously happening at the worst time. But I mean, silver lining, we saw Tatum able to come back in a like record-setting time from that injury. So maybe, I mean, glad for Tatum regardless, but hopefully that's not just like a superhuman Tatum thing and more of like an advance in medicine thing. So maybe Devo's timeline for recovering will be a little bit quicker than it would have been a few years ago, but pretty rough. And kind of, I mean, just sucks for Minnesota. Like they were in the driver's seat in that series, and now they got to go through the rest of it with no Ant and no Devo. It's Denver lucked out there because I think I'd be pretty shocked. I wouldn't be floored, but I'm giving Denver a good like 80% chance of getting through this now. I mean, because they only need to lose one, but the talent gap without those 2 guys is pretty extreme.
I would agree, unless you're gonna get another Ayo Dosunmu, who I did say was my X factor, by the way, but if you're gonna get another one of his performances where he's gonna drop, I know he dropped 43, but he's probably gonna have to drop, in order to win a game like that. Got somebody like him. It doesn't have to be him. It could be another role player, but it could be a Jaden McDaniels, for example. Someone's gonna have to drop 35 plus and put on an Anthony Edwards performance without Ant.
Yeah, and Gobert's gonna have to keep doing what he's been doing.
Yeah, I would agree. You have to be the Jokic stopper, if you will. Okay, so we got that series covered. The Spurs Trailblazers series was boring. The most excitement came when you thought that the Blazers might have a shot after Wemby went down with a concussion in game 2, and then they lost game 3. The Blazers were up big actually in game 4, and then the Spurs came roaring back, won that, and then they disposed of
Mhm.
it last night. There's no need to talk anything more about that. Get to we already talked Sixers Celts for the most part. We talked not Spurs, Pistons Magic. We do the Raptors and Cavs. We'll talk them real quick before we get Knicks Hawks. Raptors Cavs is like, it reminds me of the Orlando Cavs series back from 2024, where every single game was won by the home team because both teams were so mediocre and lacked any kind of like killer instinct to be able to go into the other team's building and like get a big win. So you want to know what? If you go with the old adage, the series doesn't start until a road team wins a game. That series never happened because no road team ever won a game that
It never began.
and that series never began. And honestly, it might as well not have because, yes, obviously the Cavs did technically win that series, and then they were disposed in 5 games against the Celtics in the next round. So that series may as well have never happened anyway.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I do still feel like Cleveland's gonna get out of there. I don't think anyone really thinks Toronto can do the full thing. But dude, that side of the bracket, pretty awful. Like round 2 of what? Like Cleveland, Orlando, Toronto, Detroit. Like I think the real Eastern Conference Finals will be coming in the most likely 2-3 matchup, which is the one series we haven't mentioned. Listen, if you're just looking at numbers, right? You got Knicks basically a blowout in game 1, got a little shaky at the end. Atlanta wins 2 games in a row by 1 point, and then you get back-to-back belt from New York. So it does seem like the Knicks have figured it out. The adjustments took a little longer than I think most Knicks fans would have liked, but the basketball's been good. They're running that little pin screen action relentlessly. They're just spamming it, and it is beautiful. Get Towns is in full like Jokic mode right now. He's Dominican Jokic. He's got the ball at the top of the key, and then Brunson and OG are just like the 2 best players to run this action with, where you have that weird little screening action in the corner, and Atlanta cannot switch it because New York, they're such a bigger team. They're so strong, and you have these guards on Brunson. And even if it's a guy like Daniels, you don't want Brunson to get a matchup with a bigger defender on him, and you don't want OG to get the smaller guy on him. And they try to switch it, and every time it gets clogged up, and it's either Brunson peeling up for a 3 or a drive, or OG cutting backdoor. I cannot count how many times we've had an OG cut off of that screen on the baseline for a dunk from a Towns pass. And then if the defense is just so loaded up on that screening action, Karl-Anthony Towns is a beautiful soul. The way he's playing basketball right now is like watching God build the universe. Just the things he's doing, or he's making those reads perfectly. And then he just finds the times when the pressure is a little too much and the defense is a little too focused on the action. They cannot stop him getting to the basket. He had one last night, Kaminga on him. They run this same action, and the whole defense is focused on that. Clears out the right side of the paint. Towns goes down, spin move, gets hooked by Kaminga, finishes the layup, points at that man, yells in his face, and one. He's been. We should have talked about this beforehand. But if we're doing an all first round team, maybe we'll do that when the first round is officially over. Towns has to be on that 5-man lineup. The only player who's created more points in the first round so far has been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Catches. He's playing perfect basketball. This is Karl-Anthony Towns taken with the number 1 pick. This is what you want to see from him. His defense has been great. Rebounding is always great. He's been beautiful, and like he's playing so well that Brunson put up 39 and 8 last night, and we're talking about Towns right now.
Yeah,
You know,
so few things off that. Number 1, I'm not saying he would make this team if we were to do an all first round team, but OG Anunoby needs to get some consideration for a spot on that team as well. He is just He's just magical. As disappointing as Mikal Bridges has been this series, OG Anunoby has been equally just so impressive. So thankful for OG Anunoby being on my favorite team. The entire time you're talking about Cat's offense, and he's been just surgical all series long. He's been the best player on the floor for either team. I'm glad you mentioned his defense because his defense has been exquisite in the series. Cat is the kind of guy that gets killed for his low basketball IQ, his lack of defensive, I should say not lack of, his inability at times to seem to understand the gravity of his defensive assignment. He is just executing it to a wonderful degree in this particular series. I am absolutely thrilled. I feel like they have to take care of business tomorrow in Atlanta. I don't want the pressure going back to Madison Square Garden because anything can happen in Game 7. You've clearly shown that you're the better team. You have outscored them by, including the losses, not just the wins. You've outscored them by 54 points this series. The only thing I'm annoyed about in terms of how the Knicks have played is the fact that we are still playing. There's really no reason that this series wasn't ended in 5 games, but it is what it is. You mentioned it a week ago, Ben, and said usually you have to win 4 games to win a series. Well, we have to win 5. We have already pretty much won 4 games this series, but we blew game 2. Time to go get our 5th win tomorrow night in Atlanta. Period. The end.
And that Knicks defense is going to have to keep doing what it's been doing. CJ McCollum was torching New York in the first 4 games of the series. And last night, what do you have? 6 points?
6 points
Mike
on
Brown's
3
running.
and 10 shooting.
Yeah, Mike Brown's got it locked in. Johnson's playing a little better now, but he's definitely gone through those experiences of like, oh, this is what it's like to be number 1 option in the playoffs. So this is what it means to be game planned against. And NBA Most Improved Player, last playoffs, how we were told about 3,000,000 trillion times that he was Shea's cousin. We're getting the same thing with his Most Improved Player this year. Every time he's like, NBA's Most Improved Player. Not having a great series. I feel pretty confident the Knicks to take care of this. Of course, it's whenever I'm confident, they play terribly. Whenever I'm down on them, they end up going great. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, this has been a beauty of a first round. A lot of competition, a lot of surprise that we didn't see coming. I think some people could say the same thing about the hockey playoffs, or maybe not. I guess that's really up to Brandon. But I did hear it was a big weekend for the Birds, Brandon. Is that true?
In your words, famously, birds do love cups.
They do.
That is a fact, apparently, because big weekend for birds. Really big weekend for birds. I'm actually going to kick this segment of the show off talking about one of them. That's the Pittsburgh Penguins. I want to talk about them first because they are actively playing an elimination game right now. They lose, season's over. Right, they're done. Early in the first, we're only a couple minutes into playing the Flyers right now. Right now, Pittsburgh's got all the momentum. This is an experienced veteran team. Philly had them on the ropes, and now all of a sudden we can start to feel the winds change a little bit. It's tipping in Pittsburgh's direction a little bit. You would kind of think, I mean, I had Pittsburgh winning the series from the jump, but the way the Flyers played early, you had to think, it's going to be tough for Pittsburgh to get back into it. And they've successfully battled back. They've made it a series, 3-2 right now. But Game 6, do or die. Send it to Game 7, and we'll see what happens. But definitely looking up. Pittsburgh has all the momentum in that series. What's up, Ben?
And like baseball's happened, NBA's never happened. Hockey 3-0 comeback. Is that a thing?
It has happened couple of occasions. Not often. It has happened. I think most recently was the Flyers over the Bruins in 2010. I could be mistaken on that, but that's one of the more recent ones. No? Who am I missing?
The Kings came back against the Sharks in the first round of 14.
Yep, good call, Pags.
So it's
Yes.
like every decade or so you're seeing something like this.
I think it's even more rare than that. But yeah, it does happen. It's just, and what happens more so in the NHL than maybe some other leagues. It's more of a possibility. But yeah, Penguins, they're battling that veteran core, putting them right in the mix of things. So, and again, that game's happening live, so updates we'll provide them throughout the show if we need to, update the score on that. Now, how about your other birds? Your Anaheim Ducks. Similar situation. But on the reverse, the Ducks are
No.
that plucky young squad going up against the vets, the Edmonton Oilers, a team that's been to the Cup final the last 2 years. Well, Ducks had them on the ropes, 3-1. Connor McDavid going into Game 5 last night, questionable, not even a lock to play. Game time decision. He ended up playing, but Ducks, it's like, here's your opportunity. Wrap this up now. Don't let it get to 6. Well, guess what? Game 6, we're getting it. Because when you let Evan Bouchard have 3 assists and the Oilers have 3 goals in the first 10 minutes of the game, not a good sign. Not a good sign at all for the Ducks. I think that's the young, inexperienced team showing up to play there against the veteran group. And again, McDavid and Draisaitl are the most talented. That's the modern day Shaq and Kobe of the NHL. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So you're playing a great squad. And, Anaheim's a young team. They're still in a good position. I don't hate it, but if things don't go their way, I believe they play. Let me pull up the schedule real quick. Their Game 6 will be. It'll be tomorrow, 10:00 p.m. So, as you're going home, you'll be able to listen to. As you listen to this, you'll be able to watch that game tonight. So, definitely tune in to watch that. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Because you don't want to see the things tip too much in the Oilers' direction. If that goes to Game 7, Ducks might be done. So, Ben, that's an update on your Ducks. Yeah, what do we
2
got?
things. First of all, you're doing a really good job with the consonants today. I like the way you hit like the duck. Yeah, you hit it. It's pleasing on the
Ducks.
ears. Yeah. Second thing. Well, actually, I have 3 things. I like how you say Oilers too. I don't know if you're doing that on purpose, if that's a bit, or if that's just how you say Oilers. It's kind of cool.
What did I do? It's the
Fair.
Edmonton
You're like,
Oilers.
you were saying like Oilers. It was kind of.
Okay.
It was kind of. You'll hear it on the playback.
Okay.
Third thing, I did look it up. Do birds like cups? Because I actually, despite my confidence, I wasn't sure. According to Gemini, which is an artificial intelligence add-on to the Google search engine, which I haven't figured out how to turn off. Yes, many birds, especially pet birds like parrots and budgies, love cups. They are often obsessed with them for playing, hiding, bathing, or drinking from, making them a popular, simple toy. In old gardens, teacups and mugs were often used as bird feeders to encourage foraging. Birds do love cups. You heard it here second, because I already said it once, but pretty sick.
Man, I'm so happy.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would just like to throw out there that you will not find a breakdown like this on any other show. Only here will you hear about how much birds love cups.
Dude, I hate the Penguins, but I am, just for you, Ben, rooting for a Ducks-Pens Stanley Cup final. You know how awesome that would be?
Dude, I know Bo. I know Puck. I have nothing else to say
Okay.
about hockey.
So,
You guys go.
Okay.
I got something. So, Ben, well, actually, let me give a little context. So, on Pardon My Take, my favorite podcast, aside from this one, of course, each week they do what's called Hot Seat, Cool Throne. I'm not asking you guys to participate in this, and I'm not even going to do Cool Throne, but I have a hot seat, and it relates to hockey. And Ben, I need your input on it. Brandon, I don't need yours. I already received yours on Saturday. So my hot seat is
Was it the guy
the guy.
with the name that we talked about? He had a funny name. He spelled it weird.
Patrick Raw or Wah, whatever.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
no, it has nothing to do with that. My hot seat actually is the subject I teach. My hot seat's math.
My God.
Ben, I'm
Why is that?
gonna propose something to you, and you're gonna answer it, okay?
I will not interrupt. I will not influence his answer in any way. But if you think that I am not giving my take on this
That's fine.
at the end, you are sadly mistaken.
That's fine. You're wrong. Anyways, you can give your take and let more people know that you were wrong. Anyways, so Ben, you know the context of hockey. There's 3 20-minute periods. You knew that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So,
didn't know they're 20 minutes, but yeah.
okay, that's important. 3 20-minute periods. So I'm go over to Brandon's place on Sunday to watch the Bruins game. Pretty pivotal game. It's in Boston. They are down 2-1. You kind of need to win that game. Bruins come out, no life, no energy, just dead from the get-go. They
Absolute liability of a defense.
Liability of
Absolute
defense.
liability.
Swayman, their goaltender, wasn't even playing poorly, but the defense in front of him was just disintegrating, and he gave up a lot of goals. So with 5 minutes remaining in the first period.
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes remaining in the first period. The Bruins are down 4-0. Then so again, 5 minutes remaining in the first period, they're down 4-0. How many goals were the Buffalo Sabres on pace at that moment to score in the game? I'll give you a second.
All right, wait. So 4 goals in the first 15 minutes.
That is correct.
And it's a 60-minute game.
That is also correct.
So 16 goals.
Thank you. Because I said, and I quote, "Man, B, I'm not even trying to be that guy. Okay? Not even trying to be a troll." But I'm like, dude, we were actively talking about how they just came out with no energy. I'm like, dude, you guys are legit on pace. It's not going to happen. But I'm like, you guys are on pace to lose 16-0. This kid with confidence, looks at me and goes, 12-0. I go, no, 16-0. And then he calls me a name that I can't repeat and says, hey, there's only 3 periods in hockey. That was his defense. Brandon, go ahead.
Hang on. Okay. That is not how the conversation went. The conversation went, it was over or under 16.5 goals scored for the game. Or 12, I said 12.5 goals scored by Buffalo for the whole game. That's the way I put it. And I said 12.5 because I was trying to be optimistic that the team that I love and care about was not going to give up another goal in that period. So say what you will, I was going, they're moving up 4, go 5 minutes left in the period. We can hang on for 5 minutes, 12 on the game. That logic makes sense.
Ethan got there about an hour and a half later, and I proposed the same deal to him. And this dude sits there and thinks real hard for like a minute and a half, and then just goes, I don't know, man, like 15, just like ballparks it. Like it wasn't like it.
At least mine had logic behind it. Okay,
it was incorrect logic, but at least there was logic. Yes. You said, okay, 4 goals. Your thought was 4 goals first period, multiply that by 3, 12 goals. Yes, it was wrong, but I see the logic. Ethan just thinking it was like an unsolvable problem and ballparking at 15, just it destroyed me as a math teacher. It just killed me inside.
More of an arts and crafts type of guy.
Way more of an arts and crafts kind of guy. Absolutely, he's one of those.
All right, let's not bash the man too bad when he's not here. So.
Yeah, he did a classic miss the pod after the Celtics lose.
Yeah, who would do that?
It's a crafty maneuver.
We do have to talk a little bit more about the Bruins.
I figured that was a launching pad. So go ahead, talk.
Yeah, that was a good segue into the actually discussing the game. But as you said, as we already covered, defense absolute liability to the point where in the third period, down 6-0, Swayman was pulled. There has been some speculation, whether true or not, that he may have pulled himself, just because at that point it's like, we're not winning this game. You guys are playing like something I'm not going to say on this show because it was that bad. He skates over to leave the ice, and you see him just stop, turn, look on the bench. You see the head move back and forth like he's saying something to the guys, and he is not happy. Which, with the way the defense played in Game 4, I don't blame him the slightest because, as you said, 4 goals in the first 15 minutes of the game, and really none of them were on him. He played excellent. It's just a matter of you give up too many 2-on-1s, guess what? You're going to give up some goals. So whatever he said definitely was a kick in the pants for the rest of the team because they came out and played Game 5 last night, and holy crap, that was a whole different team. That was not the same team we watched in Game 4. Barely a lineup. There's a subtle lineup changes, but for the most part, the same guys took the ice, and look at that. You win 2-1. Granted, it took overtime. You win 2-1. That little fettuccine finish in overtime from David Pastrnak. Wonderful move, little back and forth dangle on the breakaway. It was wonderful to watch. Part of me is happy about that. Part of me is upset because, I feel like we're still going to lose this series, and I don't want to, don't get my hopes up. Buffalo, don't play with your food. If you're going to beat the crap out of us, do it now. Don't let us get to Game 6. But, hey, at this point, we're in it. Let's go to Game 7. Let's win the series. But, Buffalo, if you're gonna end the series, don't give me hope. Please.
What's your take on Whitney's chug?
I didn't see it. I'm not going to lie.
So, for context,
Houston?
Ryan Whitney, one of the co-hosts of Spittin' Chicklets, actually, along with Paul Bissonnette and Yans. What'd you even say?
Keith Yandel.
I know, I'm talking about Ben, because he's dapping himself up. What'd you even say?
I said Houston. I said Houston?
Whatever. All right, we're moving on. So for those that don't know Ryan Whitney, he said on Spittin' Chicklets earlier in the year that Buffalo had a 0.00% chance of making the playoffs. So Buffalo, being the great sports city that they are, put that on a billboard when they clinched going to the playoffs. And Ryan Whitney, to his credit, wow, Jakob Poeltl, you're just awful. Ryan Whitney, to his credit, shows up in Buffalo for Game 5 last night wearing a Sabres jersey that says Whitney, and his number was 0.0, and took his medicine like a man. Here's the problem. They put him on the big screen about 7 minutes, the very first TV timeout, about 7 minutes in the game. And he had this very, very odd cup with, I'll just say it, with beer in it. And he went to go do a beer chug. It was the worst chug I've ever seen in my entire life. It was like he had to he got and to the point where I don't really care about that stuff, and I had to go watch it because of the amount of people that were talking. It was that horrific. So B, I didn't know if you had watched it at the time, and I wanted to get your thoughts, but you failed me. B, I do want to hear your thoughts about the best series, and you called it was going to be the best series. I am talking Dallas, Minnesota, that currently has Minnesota leading 3-2 after I believe 4-2 victory last night. Minnesota added an empty netter late in the game, so it was a really, really close game all throughout. What are your thoughts on what you called to be a phenomenal series and is living up to that billing?
I'm not gonna lie, the Stars had me not just worried, but terrified the way that first game went, with Minnesota just dominating. Here we are, and Minnesota still has a series lead 3-2. But again, this series has been just absolute cinema. I've been bouncing around a little bit, trying to get little bits of every game, so I can't say I've sat down and watched every minute of this series. But over the weekend, I really, sat down and watched, I believe it was game 4, and game to overtime, just masterclass, masterful performance. And I gotta say, the Stars are looking good doing it, wearing their alternates. I'm not a big alternate jersey guy in the playoffs, but they're wearing their reverse retro, whatever you want to call it, with black jersey and the old star shape with the modern green.
Yeah.
Looks fantastic. But yeah, no, and this just comes down to two juggernauts. This could be a Western Conference final game. Nobody would blink an eye. The Wild, we've talked about them almost ad nauseum for our hockey talk this year about how solid they've done, improving the roster, being strong up front. They've got some depth. And the Stars, we've talked about them the last couple of years being perennial cup contenders. This was always going to be a great series, and it's certainly lived up to that billing. All I can ask for is more overtime games between those two teams, because every time you get overtime hockey, it's bonus hockey, and you can never say no to that. It's the best thing in pro sports is playoff hockey, and Ben, you disagree with me on that if you want, Pags. I know you're on board with that, but it really is a beautiful thing.
No, honestly, I do miss having the Rangers in the playoffs. I do miss when they're good, but I'm not gonna lie, I've been really enjoying just I guess just playoff overtime hunting, if you will. I'll be up, it'll be, you know, 9:45. Maybe I'm ready to, call it a night and head to bed. And are there any games that could go to overtime or late, a 1-goal game or tied late in the third period? I'll flip through the channels and just watch and wait for something to get interesting. So yeah, I absolutely do. Again, I miss the Rangers being in it, but the fact that you're able to just watch and enjoy and not have any kind of stress or nerves, I'm not gonna lie, it's a good time. It's a good time.
Yeah. And just to add on to that a little bit, what was it?
I did watch
Yeah.
the clip of the guy drinking. That's what I was laughing at before, Ben.
It's
He
the
kept
beer
tilting it
saber.
back.
You had the beer saber. It's not like a cup.
Still,
I know, but he's rocking back and forth with the thing. Like, it's not gonna go in your um, you're not gonna be able to drink it unless it's vertically tilted.
yeah, famously.
Famously, that is how gravity works, I guess.
Yeah, so just wanted to look at make sure I had my guys right real quick before I talk about this. But back to that Minnesota Dallas overtime game. One of the best things about that overtime is it's not like one team totally controlled play the entire time. It was a little bit of back and forth with some strong offensive zone time by each team, which is not something you necessarily see a lot of. A lot of times, with two evenly matched teams, you'll see a lot of just dump and chase, breaking things up in the neutral zone. It can get still from time to time if you don't get a lot of that offensive zone possession time. But we saw both teams were able to do that in overtime, and then just props to Matt Boldy for making the big play when it mattered most. He did actually get a goal that was called off for a distinct kicking motion earlier on in overtime, which would have ended the game. But nice to see him get the actual goal to end it, and he's had a fantastic year. He's been a breakout star, and if the NHL had a Most Improved Player award. I'm pretty sure. Does the NBA have that? I mean, I saw some. Yeah, the NBA has that. Like, I think Matt Boldy would definitely be one of the candidates for that. He's just taken a massive leap in his development, so and kind of he's becoming a Minnesota Wild staple.
Yeah. Brandon, I appreciate you listening to our NBA talk because Ben specifically made a point of talking about how Nikhil Alexander Walker, they've mentioned his Most Improved Player award like 17 times every broadcast. So I appreciate you listening to us talk hoop.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm glad to be a part of that.
B, is there
And
any
then
okay, I was gonna say, is there anything else hockey wise so we can do a quick draft recap? But go ahead.
yeah, I'm just gonna hit it quick. Canadians and Lightning equal as good of a series as the Dallas and Minnesota series has been. What's the look?
Nothing. Nothing.
Oh,
Give me more.
we're pumped about the draft. We're pumped about the draft.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, Canadians and Lightning has basically they've been the Wild and the Stars of the Eastern Conference, and then Carolina Hurricanes and Colorado Avalanche is exactly what I expected and swept both of the 8 seeds, so to speak, in the Eastern Conference and Western Conference respectively. Sad to see Anze Kopitar go out on the note that he did for the Kings, but hey, hell of a career, and hope he enjoys his retirement. But with that, I'm done with my hockey talk. Let's talk a little bit of draft.
Yeah, what I was thinking for the draft was maybe we can each just give like me and you, B, because Ben, I know you're a Giants fan, but you even said in an audio message to me the other day, if you want to talk a little about the Giants picks, you can actually do that. If you've been watching a little film, be my guest. You don't have to. B, I was thinking maybe you and I could, just from the first round, give a pick that we liked that maybe we weren't expecting that, ended up coming to fruition that we're just like, oh, you know what? I didn't see that. I didn't forecast that, but I like the way that went. I thought that was a good move by the team. And then likewise, a pick that was a head scratcher. There's definitely a handful in this draft. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? I can start off.
What do you want? Do you want to start with the head scratcher or the
Yeah,
solid pick?
let's start with the head scratcher.
All right. I guess if you don't mind, I'll take
Go ahead.
the head scratcher because I'll leave the obvious one to you, I think. And
I didn't need the obvious one.
oh, okay, I'll
Take
take the
it.
obvious one. All right,
I like
all
the
right, yeah,
secondary.
and that is Ty Simpson going to the Rams at 13. I will say this, I don't hate the Rams picking Ty Simpson. That I don't hate. What I hate is where they drafted him. Ty Simpson was widely regarded to have a a late first round to early second round grade, just based upon the caliber of the draft class. So to select him at 13, I thought was a bit of a reach. I mean, I guess, if you got a guy and you love the guy, you go get him. But it's very clear that in this particular case, the front office and the coaching staff were not on the same page about what they should be doing with that draft pick. And again, I think you probably could have traded up into the end of the first round and gotten him, at 32, 31, somewhere in that range. I really think that was a real possibility. And again, I understand you like the guy, you go get him. I just way too early to take Ty Simpson, especially as a guy who's basically going to be yeah, he's your backup or he's your quarterback of the future, but he's not going to do anything to help a Super Bowl contending roster right now.
I agree with you. The Rams right now are the favorites, per DraftKings, FanDuel, whatever it might be, to win the Super Bowl over even their division rival Seattle, coming off of a Super Bowl victory. And so you would have thought, sitting there selecting at 13, you would get an impact now kind of guy. So while that wasn't what I thought the obvious head scratcher was, I don't hate your call. I'm actually going to give two. I'm going to take the obvious one first, and then I'm not going to go deep, do a deep dive.
Wait.
All right, sounds good to me. The not obvious one, the head scratch for me is Kenyon Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon that the Jets took 16th overall. Just invested a second round pick in a tight end last year, Mason Taylor, who wasn't a world beater by any means, but had a solid, productive rookie year. B, you and I both have stock in
Mason
him.
Taylor.
We'll both have some stock in him in respect to Dynasty League, so we were disappointed to see that selection as it pretty much nullifies Mason Taylor. Kenyon Sadiq, one of those physical freak kind of guys who really didn't put up great numbers at Oregon, and you're really just betting on that upside. I'm not saying he's not even going to hit on that upside. You just look at a team like the Jets with having several other needs. Are you really going to go to the well on a non-premium position of tight end that you just utilized a second rounder for the year prior? Doesn't seem like the most smart managerial job, but you know what? Jet's gonna jet. I don't know what else you want me to tell you. I'm not shocked that a team like this would make that call. And in the best case scenario, Sadiq turns into an absolute stud. Even if he does, I still question leaving selecting him and leaving some other bigger names on the table, whether that name be Akeem Mesidor, Caleb Banks, the defensive tackle out of Florida, Monroe Freeling, the offensive tackle out of Georgia. But those are the main names that I was really looking at. But yeah, I'm going to roll with him. Ben, who do you think is the obvious one?
Dude, how you gonna be an awful team
Mm-hmm.
and take a running back?
Yep.
Jeremiah Love going to the Cardinals, what, number 3 overall? Number
Number
4?
three.
Number
Number three.
3, right? I mean, I don't even know the gridiron like that, but you gotta get a team before you gotta get a running back. I feel like they have so many things they need to deal with over there. They seem like a pretty big mess, and that's running back's a position you kind of take care of in the aggregate in the meanwhile. And then I read something too. I do that from time to time about money in this case, where the whole like value of a first round pick is you get them on like a cheaper contract and they're contributing. But at the number 3 spot, Jeremiah Love is like one of the highest paid running backs in football because they're not getting a ton of money on those second and third contracts. So it just doesn't really make sense on any front. Kind of sucks too. I feel like he goes to like a good team, like even a team like the Commanders or the Giants or something, and like that's fun. Like you get Jeremiah Love like helping out a good team, and you get some exciting plays. You maybe see him in the playoffs, but going to Arizona, he's probably just going to kind of waste away there for at least a year or two before they get things going. So yeah,
Yeah.
don't
And
move. Even I knew
and
that one.
if I can just add on to that real quick too, not only did the Cardinals have a lot of positions of need, but running back was like the one position that they were set on. They have Tyler Algier. They, brought him in as a free agent. And you had to think after being the backup to Bijan Robinson in Atlanta, I mean, he was certainly going to be at the very least competing for a large role in a backfield by committee there. Like I said, running back was like the one position they didn't really need because they had a lot of veteran guys who were very capable backs in that room. And then you went and added a young stud, which, I mean, you think a guy's going to be a star, I guess take him. But again, running back, Ben, you said everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, it's
Yeah, I know what I'm saying.
yeah, it's just a head scratcher. I look at it as that meme that has the like the sports car outside of like the trailer home, basically. That sports car represents Jeremiah Love and Michael Wilson. Oh, and Trey McBride, I guess. So it is 3 guys. And then the house itself would be the offensive line, the entire defense, Jacoby Brissett, and of course Maserati Marv. So with that, let's go
That's how I
ahead.
feel on this podcast.
Of course, Ben. Of course. B, do you want to give me a player that's that maybe you weren't necessarily expecting, that you're like, you know what? I wouldn't have mocked that, but I absolutely see why they did that. Good move on their part.
I'm gonna go with the Dallas Cowboys taking Caleb Downs, the safety out of Ohio State. I mean, when we did our mock, which that's actually another conversation we should have at the end of this
Yeah, we'll
this
wrap
little
the
segment
show with
here,
that.
but yeah, Caleb Downs out of Ohio State going to the Cowboys. I hate it because, you and I should both hate it, going to be an in division team, but I can just see him having a big impact with the Cowboys defense. I could see him, we talk about him being a versatile safety, maybe, coming down, making some big hits in the box, kind of playing that like high linebacker role on the defense. And it could really get messy for us the next couple of years. But yeah, Caleb Downs to the Cowboys. That's a big win for Jerry Jones and co over there in Dallas.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. For me, actually, let me back up on that. I can't believe the Giants had 2 shots at Caleb Downs and didn't go with him.
Mm.
Dude, they could have used him. John Harbaugh could have used him as his Kyle Hamilton. I like the Giants' picks, Arvell Reese and Francis Mauigoa. I think they're tremendous talents. I think Reese is actually one of, if not the best player, like pure football player on the board, maybe behind Jeremiah Love. But just, it was, and I know safety's not a premium position, so I get that too. I just didn't really think that we drafted guys at a position of need, but it is what it is. Football's won and lost in the trenches, and that's exactly what the Giants focused on. Anyways, I'll go ahead and
Dude, CC Maui Noah is gonna be a dog. He's 20 years old, 6'5", 6'6", 315. He can move. He's fundamental. You want to win football games, you get a big, big Samoan in the trenches, and you have those guys are built different.
fair.
I'm excited about that pick. I'm gonna be repping that jersey in no time.
I love it. I love it. The player I'm gonna go with for somebody I didn't necessarily mock to that particular team, but it makes sense when it's all said and done. I'm going to go with actually Jordan Tyson to the Saints. I think it's imperative that if you really believe Tyler Shuck is the guy, which honestly, I mean, I'm not low on Shuck, but a lot of people are way higher on Shuck than I am. They have a very good weapon already in Chris Olave. Adding another elite receiver like Jordan Tyson, even though the injury concerns do exist, adding a guy like him is really, really important to that. Got him 2 solid weapons now. He's older, but he's still got a guy like Alvin Kamara out of the backfield there. They are doing a nice job putting some talent around Tyler Shuck and hoping that he takes a step in his sophomore year coming up. So I was a fan of that. Thoughts, comments on the draft additionally?
I mean, I feel like, Brandon, it was a pretty good day for you, right? Sonny Styles following a 7. You can't be mad about that.
I do love it, and the one thing I did want to talk about, I want to mention one thing about the Commanders draft. Last year, we got a great running back in the 7th round who goes by Bill. His name is Ja'Cory Crosby-Barrett. Why he's Bill, questionable to anyone on the outside. This year, we decided to draft another late running back who also has an outstanding nickname. Drafted Katron Allen out of Penn State. He goes by Fat Man.
Oh, I did hear about that. That's awesome. Reminds me of
Love
Fat
that.
Rob.
Bill and Fat Man coming out of the backfield this year.
Bill and Fat Man? That's pretty
Yeah.
sick.
You guys just need to get like Nick. Be awesome.
Love it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Oh, I had a question. The Eagles drafted Lemon, right? The receiver. That mean AJ Brown is gone?
Yeah, 100%. Good as gone. Just waiting for June 1st for that to happen. I assume he's going to the Patriots right now. And like that's what everyone's projecting. But the Patriots, or at least people within that organization, have a history of saying one thing but being like ultimately disloyal and like doing another when like push comes to shove. So I'm not 100% if that'll happen. Mike Vrabel might be married to the idea of AJ Brown. Then another receiver is going to come along. And it could be a totally different story. Next thing you know, they're getting photographed holding hands and giving each other pecks during COVID. I mean, I don't know, man.
Hey,
I mean,
Brandon Ayuk is on the table.
Brandon Ayuk?
Supposedly.
Ben?
I mean, would you even would you say, I wouldn't describe AJ Brown as like a family man, and that's kind of what they're about there. So
yeah, it's the
I don't
Patriot
know if
way.
it fits the bill for him. Yeah.
Listen, if you're a Boston coach and you don't cheat on your wife after you lose the championship, I mean, are you really a Boston coach? Are we? No. First Ime, now
Mike Vrabel and CJ Stroud are going to be putting up crazy numbers in a couple of years.
In Houston?
Yeah.
God. All right. I think that's B. Why don't you tell them about our mock draft? That can be how we wrap up this iteration of the show.
Yeah, we did a wonderful mock draft a couple of weeks ago, as you may or may not have listened to, and we decided that we were going to basically do a rankings for each pick. So you get 1 point for your first pick, 2 points for your second pick, and so on. And we each did 5 picks. The final standings of that, we only got 1 pick out, boys. Fernando Mendoza, first overall. So I come out on winning.
Who'd you say the Jets took?
Me, I took Arvell Reese.
Yep. The only pick we actually got right on that mock draft was Fernando Mendoza to the Raiders. So by default, I win because you guys decided to give me the first overall pick so I could have the Commanders pick for our mock draft. So Pags, thank you for giving me the win on that one, basically.
So we have to come up with a punishment for Ethan and I. It's only right. So maybe I'll just like sleep on the ground with no pillow.
Well, I think what we do is we give Ben a week to decide, and he can come back to us with the idea he comes up with next week.
I see he has to come up with like 3.
I love it.
He has to come up with like 3 suggestions, and like we each get 1 veto, and then it's like a 50-50 shot for the other 2. I think that's the best way of doing it.
I like this.
You gotta use those vetoes real quick, my guy.
What do you think?
Hey, remember, this is a family-friendly show. Just keep that in mind.
Hey, I was good today.
Yeah,
you're pretty good.
Do you have any
I do have to do a little bit of editing, but for the most part.
But that was him. That wasn't me.
I don't know.
Yeah, so this episode might be out a little late. Just a heads up.
Fair. Ben, do you have an appetizer of those punishments at all?
No, I'm going to keep you guys on your toes. You got to come back next week for that. As we exit the show, we're going to do our history fact of the day as we normally do.
Go ahead.
Okay. Trivia question. What was the French Committee of Public Safety most famous for in the 1780s and 90s?
The bourgeoisie.
Good guess, Brandon.
I got nothing. I wasn't even
They
expecting
were
this.
they were most famous for the murder of 40,000 innocent citizens, namely via guillotine, and occasionally by buckshot into a pre-dug grave. As reasoning for these murders, maybe they didn't want a revolution, but they didn't actually bother to check.
Okay. What a great history fact of the day. We always appreciate you, Ben.
One way to wrap the show.
Yeah,
That is certainly a way to wrap the show.
Honestly, I think people are gonna stick around. And we should have said in the beginning, hey, Ben has a history fact of the day for us, so stick around till the very, very end, because that would have
All right, Brandon. Wait, Brandon, where's your magic? Guys, at the end of the podcast today, you will hear a fantastic history fact, as we do every week.
as we do every week. All right. All kidding aside, this was one of the more. I'm not saying this to troll Ethan. It just so happened it was. This was one of the more fun shows I feel like that we've done in a long time. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. Appreciate it. Spread the word. Tell your grandmothers, your parents, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever. I don't care. Tell everyone. Spread the word. We appreciate
Your partners.
your partners. There you go. Spread the word.
Your cousin's brother's girlfriend.
Cousin's brother's girlfriend. Absolutely.
Hey, tell everybody.
Spaceballs 2 is coming out.
Okay. I don't know what that is. They're cool.
Love it.
Well, Brandon, have you seen that?
I have. I saw Spaceballs.
You know, like, when he's like, instead of he's like, Luke, I am your father, he's like, Luke, I am your cousins, brothers, roommates, girlfriends, you know.
Yeah.
You
I got
reminded me of that. You're like
Yeah.
Darth Vader, kind
That
of.
that was the direction. Wait.
Brandon's
Bathroom.
Darth Vader,
Bathroom,
Ben's
'cause I
Luke
lit.
Skywalker, and Yoda.
All right. Wrap the episode. Pags. Let's call it.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Peace.
Bye, guys.